What's up? I'm Gaby Wilson for MTV News, and I'm here in Washington, D.C. for the March for Science with the one and only Bill Nye, the Science Guy. How are you?
Fabulous.
So tell me what we're doing here this weekend.
Well, we're on a bench. No, we're marching for science. So in the U.S. Constitution, it refers to, let's see, Article 1, Section 8 refers to the progress of science and useful arts. So we can't ignore science just for the sake of the economy, let alone for the sake of the environment. So I was here in 1970 for the first Earth Day when people were concerned about pollution. Well, now we have climate change. Thanks, grown-ups. You're welcome, Gaby. And we have tremendous economic opportunities if we invest in science. But there's become this really odd, one might say weird, tradition to deny science right now, this sort of anti-intellectualism. And my claim is, you can hate me, you can hate everything, but science is how we innovate. And innovate is how any country, the United States especially, stays in the game economically. Without investment in science, we will fall behind.
How would you describe how the attitude towards science has changed and evolved over the course of your career?
Well, when I was young, we sent people to the moon, and it was a great success and a source of national pride. And then we sort of took that for granted, and people stopped pushing science forward. We accepted, in my opinion, mediocrity, and we just got to stop doing that. And science is part of that. Investment in basic research is part of that. But we've also had the extraordinary, otherwise weird, denial of climate change.
Right.
And that has been promoted almost exclusively by the fossil fuel industry, hiring the very same people who were involved in pretending there was no connection between cancer and cigarettes. So we just got to stop doing that. And it's in nobody's best interest to do that. And if you work in the fossil fuel industry, thank you for your service, but we have to do something new and cool. We have to change. We have to get new jobs. My grandfather rode a horse in World War I. He was not the world's greatest horseman, I guess, but he was good enough. But by the time his kids were in college, he wasn't riding a horse anymore. He was on a horseless carriage. He was in a car.
Right. Yeah, there's this weird, it doesn't make sense where people are denying science, and science isn't really as culturally a thing as like when we were sending people to the moon, but we have a very tech-savvy society.
So, people like you, Gaby, and MTV viewers, we love you, man, man. You all are coming of age, and you are going to change things. Climate change denial, in this one example, is almost exclusively age-related. It's generational. It's almost exclusively old people. So they're going to age out and stop voting while you come in. But then coming from the other side is this completely unsubstantiated, wrong point of view that you can run around without getting vaccinated. Now, you can't. No matter how many organic carrots you eat, if you are unvaccinated and you come across the polio vaccine, you will get polio. You do not want polio.
No.
I went to elementary school with a guy who had polio.
Really?
See how upsetting it is?
Yeah.
You don't
He's
want
punctuating that for you.
That's right. Yes, thank you. You don't want polio. Bad. And so you probably won't get it if you're unvaccinated, because everybody around you in our society is vaccinated, protecting you without you doing anything until you, unvaccinated person, get infected.
Right.
Then you become this human petri dish for a mutated polio vaccine, which will infect all the rest of us. Not cool. So anti-science is not cool coming and going. We just got to stop this, everybody. So tomorrow at the march, we're going to remind our lawmakers of the great value of science.
And what can people expect to see go down at the march tomorrow?
There's going to be some speeches. There's going to be some happy tents on the National Mall where you can go talk with some scientists doing cool science and just celebrate the remarkable role science has played in our economy and our quality of life. Everybody in the United States almost everybody in the United States takes it for granted that the water is clean and drinkable. Everybody in the United States takes it for granted that there is food available. I'm not saying we don't have problems with distribution of food. That's a solvable problem also, but we have enough food for everybody. And this is a result of science, modern agriculture. We all rely on our smartphones to tell us which side of the street we're standing on. Yeah, that comes from space assets, from satellites. That's how modern mobile phones work. So you guys, there's an airplane. We would not have air travel without science. So we want to continue to invest in science for the sake of the economy and the sake of quality of life for everyone in our society.
Why is it so important, in particular for young people, to get involved in this movement?
Because you are the future. Now, I am quite encouraged and charmed when I see the map of the electoral college results if just millennials had voted. It was all progressive. And the word progressive is what we're talking about, making progress, moving forward, not moving backwards or pretending that scientific discoveries were not made or not true. So the thing is, if we, let's say, Gaby, somebody reverses Roe versus Wade for whatever reason. You as a woman may not be a fan of such a thing, but let's say it happens. That can be undone in some future court or some future legal system or some future election. But in the case of greenhouse gases, if we continue to pump greenhouse gases at this prodigious rate for the next 4 or 8 or 12 or 22 years, that is much harder to undo. In fact, there are people who argue you can't undo it.
Yeah.
So the sooner we get to work on that specific thing, the better. If we were talking about climate change, the way we're talking about what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, or Baltimore, or other extraordinary places.
Tragedies, yeah.
What'd you say?
Or any of these other extraordinary
Then we'd
tragedies.
be getting to work.
Yeah.
We'd be getting to work. My parents did not get out of high school saying, you know what I want to do? I want to solve a global problem and then have a journalist in the future write a book about me and call me part of the greatest generation. That's no.
Yeah.
They showed up and there was a world war and they worked to resolve it. Both of my parents are veterans. They're both in Arlington National Cemetery, not too far from here. They're ashes. So you're coming of age with these global problems and you're going to solve them. Blow it up.
Why do you think it's so difficult to get people to have this emotional reaction to climate change?
Well, the fossil fuel industry has been really successful. They've even hired some of the very same people that worked on cigarettes trying to introduce doubt. So trying to equate scientific uncertainty, plus or minus 2%, with plus or minus 100%. And that's wrong. That's objectively wrong. And we got to cut it out. So tomorrow at the climate march, next week the climate march, tomorrow at the March for Science, we're going to remind lawmakers just of the economic value of science, let alone the quality of life that emerges that is a result of our investments in science.
I'm glad that you sort of accidentally brought up the climate march, because I do think that it's interesting that they are flanking weekends, but
well, the whole idea is to have a sequence. Yeah,
right.
That's the idea of the organizers.
Why do you think it's important to have both of these marches?
Well, in this case, the more marches, the better. Now, I grew up in the city limits of Washington, and I remember very well the continual marches against the Vietnam War, and they were successful. Eventually, lawmakers decided that the war was not a good investment of our treasure, our money, and the most precious resource, our young people. I missed going to Vietnam by about 6 months. Wow. My birthday's in November, and I missed it by about a year.
Wow.
So, but my older brother had guys that were, well, first of all, guys that did not come back, and other guys that were just really badly affected by that war. And then now I work with several Vietnamese people who, this one gal I work with says she can't, if she hears a helicopter, she starts crying. Yeah. A gal who works at the Planetary Society. So that those protests were effective. Furthermore, during that era, it was Richard Nixon, who I think anybody would agree was a very conservative president, representing a very conservative political point of view. He established the Environmental Protection Agency for nominally objective reasons. The environment was a mess. Let's clean it up. We're going to use the force of government to improve the quality of life of citizens through regulations. Everybody.
Seems pretty straightforward.
It sure does. So somebody says, well, we're going to eliminate half of the regulations. For every 2 regulations, we're going to eliminate 1. Okay, where did you get that number? Where does 1/2? Hey, you guys, stop driving on the right. You drive on any side of the street you want, man. You have rights. Don't let the man tell you which side of the street to drive on. Yeah, you get out there. Show them. What? What do you? Hey, airplane, you didn't have to leave on time. You can leave when you want. You fly anywhere you want. What's the worst that could happen?
Ugh.
Come on, lighten up. So what? There's a couple crashes. Big deal. Come on, we got rights, man.
Ugh.
No, you want regulations. Yes.
He agrees.
And so what you want it's like a machine. You want all the regulations you need, but no more. I mean, this is not rocket surgery. This should be obvious. You don't walk up to a machine and just start taking part. You don't go up to an airplane and start taking parts off and see if it still works. No. You want everything in place that you need. And this belief that regulations are inherently bad and that government is inherently bad, I think is just misguided and not really thought through. I think if those people who advocate that point of view just stopped and thought for a moment, they'd realize that that's not what you want. And if you don't believe me, just start taking parts off the military and see if it's still effective. Crying out loud.
Who are some other people besides yourself who are changing culturally how we view science?
It's all me. No, see tomorrow. There'll be, I hope, we get a couple of football stadia full of people on the National Mall and at over 500 science marches around the world, pointing out these are not necessarily scientists or engineers. These are just people who realize the value of science. And some of those people, BT dubs, were the founding fathers. They put progress of science and useful arts in the Constitution, for crying out loud. So come on. Science is valuable, improves the quality of life, it serves society, is good.
You are someone who, through the course of their career, has made science cool for a
What's
lot of
cooler
people?
than science?
Was there
Besides
like some
MTV,
secret formula? I think that you're pretty cool.
You're right. I am. I'm so cool. No, what's the thing you liked about your favorite teacher, your favorite professor?
They made it accessible.
They were passionate.
Yeah, also that.
Right?
Yeah.
Passionate.
Yeah.
So it's the passion that I think is what influences people. And you're passionate, right?
I'm very passionate.
She's very passionate. People,
I wouldn't come talk to you multiple days in a row
if you weren't
I wasn't passionate about this.
Yes. So anyway, you guys, we can do this. If you live anywhere in the world, I hope you take time tomorrow and march for science so that we remind our lawmakers and our fellow citizens of the great value of science, which, by the way, I claim is the best idea humans have ever had. You know, you have an observation, and as Isaac Asimov said, it's the progress in science is made when you go, wow, that's funny. So you have an observation, then you hypothesize about what made that phenomenon happen, and then you create a test. You run a test, an experiment, and compare what happened to what you thought would happen, and then what do, Gaby? You start over. That's the process of science. And so it's an exciting time, everybody, and we're going to march tomorrow to try to change the world.
Cool.
By the way,
I'm inspired.
Last night at midnight Pacific time, 0300 Eastern time, all 13 of the new Bill Nye Saves the World shows went on the service, as we say at Netflix. They're on the service. So watch all 13, binge, turn it up loud, and Tyler, the Creator, did the theme song.
That's right. I'm wearing a Tyler, the Creator shirt today also.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Cool. He was a good guy. He came by the Planetary Society.
Oh, yeah. How did
that
he
was
arrive?
great. Yeah, in his McLaren. I tell you that. This amazing car with the wing doors. These guys think he's 26. It's about time he made something of himself so he can get a nice ride. No, it's cool. He said, well, you know, I have a Tesla, but I felt like driving this
Oh,
today.
sure.
No, that's what he said. I don't know.
Wow.
But he was
He's
a cool guy.
flexing for you.
Yeah. He was a cool guy, and really appreciated his support. And the song on the new show has elements of the original song.
Yeah, the
So
chant,
it's cool.
the Bill chant.
We love the
But
song.
it's still very Tyler.
Very Tyler. And you know, on the original show way back in the 20th century, the theme song was 30 seconds.
Uh-huh.
You imagine spending that kind of time?
I know, on a theme song?
The new one is
Wow.
9 seconds. Yeah, that's the way it is on Netflix. Go, let's get her done. Okay, watch another one. All right, turn it up loud. Great. Watch another. Thank you. None of this. See you next week. Nope, see you right now. Watch another one right now. It's cool. Thank you,
great.
Gabby. This is really
thank
fun.
you, Bill.
I remember when MTV was created, people.
Wow.
That's how old I am. Turn it up loud. It's cool.
Sweet. Thank you so much,
Blow
Bill.
it up.